Wait for a second. Take a slow breath in. Hold it. Now let it go, because something has shifted. And if you have felt it too, stay with this until the end. If one person keeps entering your mind again and again for no clear reason, if their energy feels near even in silence, if your heart keeps sensing something your eyes still cannot prove, then this message may be finding you at the exact right moment. Something is building behind the scenes, not later, not one day, now. The person tied to your emotions is starting to lose control over what they feel for you, and the next step they make may show everything they have been trying so hard not to say. On the outside, nothing looks dramatic. Life still moves, the days keep passing, the silence stretches on. But under that silence, something has been growing for a long time. Their thoughts keep returning to you. Their feelings are getting louder. Their self-control is getting weaker. And here is the strange part. The more they tried to create distance, the deeper they fell into the truth of this bond. So listen closely, because before this is over, you may understand why your intuition has felt stronger lately, why your spirit has been restless, and why this story between you feels like it is standing right on the edge of change. They tried to stay calm. They tried to stay in charge of themselves. They tried to tell their own mind this was just a passing feeling, just attraction, just curiosity, just something that would fade with time. But it did not fade. It stayed. It followed them into late nights, into random memories, into busy places where nothing should have reminded them of you, and into songs that suddenly felt heavier than before. Even simple moments began to carry your presence. They kept moving like nothing inside had changed. But everything had changed. That is why the energy feels different now. What they once buried is becoming harder to hide. Every time they tried to push this connection away, it came back stronger. Every time they tried to ignore it, something inside them kept pulling them back toward you. Slowly, what once felt easy to manage became something they could no longer deny. Some people enter a life and leave behind a memory, but some people enter and shift another person's whole emotional world. That is what happened here. You were never meant to be small in their heart. You were never meant to be easy to forget. Deep down, they already know that now, and that truth shakes them more than they want to admit. On the surface, they may still look distant. They may still act like everything is under control. They may still move slowly, hesitate, or hide behind silence. But behind that appearance, there has been a private storm. Every delayed reply, every step back, every mixed signal, every sudden change in energy, none of it was empty. It was conflict. It was someone feeling something real and not knowing how to carry it without changing their whole life. Because real connection does that. It asks for honesty. It asks for change. It asks people to drop old habits, old patterns, old fears. And that is exactly what scared them. To move toward you in an honest way would mean they could no longer hide from themselves. They would have to face what this connection woke up inside them. They would have to accept that this is different. They would have to release the version of themselves that stays guarded and emotionally far away. Part of them was afraid of that. Afraid that once they stepped into this truth, nothing inside them would ever go back to how it was before. But something is changing now. Fear is not leading them the way it once did. Desire is growing, longing is growing, and the cost of staying silent is becoming heavier than the fear of speaking. Stay with me here because this is where everything starts to turn. You may already be noticing signs and still not fully trusting them. Their name appears in your thoughts more often. Their memory comes without warning. You feel their energy at strange hours of the day or night. The bond feels active even without contact. That is not just imagination. That is emotional movement under the surface. They are starting to feel your absence in a deeper way. Now, not only as distance, but as loss. And that is what changes everything. Because when someone realizes that losing you would hurt more than opening their heart, their emotional control begins to weaken. What once felt safe no longer feels safe. The distance that once protected them now feels cold. The silence that once gave them power now feels heavy. You are not just someone they think about from time to time. You have become emotionally present inside their inner world in a way they cannot fully escape. One memory can pull them in. One quiet moment can bring everything back. One pause in their day can undo the control they worked so hard to build. And if you have felt this pressure too, if your own intuition has been telling you something is changing, do not brush it aside too fast. Sometimes awareness moves before reality catches up. Something is building on both sides of this connection. That is why they have seemed so inconsistent. One moment close, the next far. One moment open, the next shut down. It is not because they feel nothing. It is because they feel too much and do not know what to do with it. Emotional distance is often misunderstood. It is not always a lack of care. Many times it is the exact opposite. It is care without clarity, feeling without direction. You did not enter their life as a simple attraction. You touched emotional places inside them that had been quiet for years. You shook walls they thought would never move. You made old defenses feel weak. You stirred honesty. You stirred hope. And hope can be scary for someone who learned to live without expecting too much. That is why this has been so intense. That is why this is not over. At first, they believed logic would help them detach. They believed time would make it easier. They believed distance would reduce your importance. But it did the opposite. Distance made your presence clearer. Absence made your impact stronger. Silence made your value louder. And now a quiet truth is settling in. What they found with you cannot be easily replaced or copied. That truth is getting harder to ignore because the heart eventually gets tired of running from what it already knows. And when that tiredness reaches its limit, control stops working the way it used to. Lately, they have been restless in ways they cannot fully explain. Other conversations feel flat. Other connections feel thinner. Other moments do not reach the depth they once expected. And in quiet spaces, they compare everything back to you without even meaning to. The feeling, the energy, the honesty, the emotional depth. Every comparison weakens their resistance a little more. This is the stage where acceptance begins. Not full acceptance yet, but the kind that starts softly. A thought late at night, a realization that will not go away. A truth that says this bond is real and pretending it is not is becoming harder than facing it. Once that point is reached, behavior starts to shift before any clear decision is made. Their attention sharpens, their curiosity returns, their emotional awareness grows. They become more sensitive to your silence, more aware of your distance, and more affected by the idea that you may not wait forever. And this matters more than you think. The next move they make may look sudden to you, but it will not be sudden for them. It will be the result of a long inner struggle finally reaching its breaking point. A message, a call, a confession hidden inside a simple conversation, a return that feels unexpected on the outside, but has actually been forming for a long time. So if this already feels familiar, keep listening, because the deeper truth is only now coming into view. What changed everything was not only your presence, but what your presence woke up inside them. You brought emotional honesty to the surface. You stirred vulnerability. You stirred longing. You stirred reflection. And most of all, you awakened the idea that love could be real, deep, and meaningful. For someone who learned to survive through control, that kind of awakening changes everything. Many people build emotional distance as protection. They build routines. They build walls. They avoid needing anyone too much. Then one real connection appears and quietly moves through all of it without force, without warning, without asking permission. Suddenly, the old way of feeling safe no longer works. That is what happened here. You moved through defenses they spent years building just by being real, and now they cannot fully return to emotional numbness the way they once did. That is why their resistance became stronger for a while. It was the last form of control they had left. But denial is exhausting when something inside already knows the truth, and they are tired now, tired of pretending, tired of carrying feelings they can no longer explain away, tired of acting untouched when they have been deeply affected. One part of them wants to move toward you. Another part still fears being fully seen. One part wants certainty before risk. Another part already knows certainty will never come through silence. That inner conflict is getting harder to carry every day. And with it, something else is starting to appear. Regret. Not loud regret. Quiet regret. The kind that whispers that fear caused delay and something meaningful may have been pushed further away than it needed to be. They replay moments differently now. What was said, what was not said. Times you reached out, times they pulled back. And through all of that reflection, your place in their emotional world is becoming clearer than it has ever been. Before this ends, remember this one thing. When clarity grows, pressure grows with it. And pressure like that always wants release. They are starting to understand that what came from you was real. It carried care, depth, patience, truth, and instead of trusting it, they fought it. That realization humbles a person. It changes the way they remember everything. Because people often understand the worth of something real only when distance shows them how empty life feels without it. They are feeling that emptiness now, especially in moments when the world around them should feel full, but somehow does not. That is why their emotional pressure keeps rising. Not because they suddenly became weak, but because truth has weight. And once truth becomes heavier than fear, movement becomes hard to stop. So if you have felt that something is changing under the surface, trust that feeling. If your intuition has been stronger lately, there may be a reason. Sometimes a heart reaches the point where holding back hurts more than speaking. That is the point they are moving closer to now. And when someone arrives there after resisting for so long, they do not return with casual energy. They return carrying the weight of everything they nearly lost. The idea of losing you for real has started to disturb them in a deeper way. Not the soft thought that maybe one day things might change. The real thought, the one that says you may heal, grow, move forward, and stop leaving emotional room open for them. That possibility has brought them clarity, because nothing sharpens truth like the fear of permanent loss. They are beginning to sense that you are changing without them, that you are learning, that you are becoming stronger in your own silence. And instead of helping them let go, that realization has made their feelings more intense. It has forced them to see something they can no longer hide from. They do not fear loneliness in general. They fear life without you in it. That is a very different truth. It means you have become emotionally hard to replace. And once someone sees that clearly, resistance does not stand the way it used to. This is where everything gets real. And yes, this is the part most people never see coming. That is why they keep circling back to you in their mind and heart. That is why your energy returns to them. That is why they cannot fully disconnect. Somewhere inside the soul made its choice long before the mind stopped fighting. Now the mind is losing ground, and as it does, the next move they make will carry more emotion than they expected. It may be imperfect, it may be raw, it may come after hesitation, but it will not be empty. It will come from built-up longing, from reflection, from regret, and from the growing awareness that every road away from you keeps leading them back to the same truth. They are also starting to understand the cost of their silence. Silence creates space. Delay creates distance. Fear creates missed moments. And now they are wondering if what was stretched can still be repaired. That question alone is making their urgency grow. They are paying closer attention now, watching your energy, reading your tone, wondering if your heart still has room for them, wondering if they waited too long, wondering if the bridge between you still exists. This matters because people move differently when they realize they are no longer guaranteed access to someone they love. Their energy becomes more intentional, more careful, more real. Not because they solved every fear, but because the old way is no longer working. The old defense of silence does not bring peace anymore. It only brings pain. And there is something important in this for you too. Even after all the confusion, this connection has not only been changing them, it has been changing you. You learned how to carry love without chasing. You learned how to survive uncertainty without losing yourself. You learned how to trust what you feel, even when the outside world gave no proof. You learned that your worth does not disappear inside someone else's silence, that growth matters. Because if this next chapter opens, it will not open from desperation or fantasy. It will open from awareness from two people who have both been changed by what this bond asked of them. So do not click away mentally. Now the deeper turn is still ahead. There comes a moment in every deep connection when resistance reaches its limit. Not because of one dramatic event, but because of accumulation. Longing builds, memory builds, absence builds. The pressure of pretending builds, until one day, staying away becomes harder than the risk of coming closer. That is where they are moving now. They tried to distract themselves. They tried to move on in their mind. They tried to live as if this connection could be boxed up and left behind, but all of it slowly failed. And the truth under every attempt is now impossible to ignore. You were never replaceable. That realization carries a kind of shock, because once someone understands that what they lost cannot simply be found somewhere else, urgency begins to rise. Not loud, not always visible, but powerful. It shows up in sleepless nights, in sudden reflection, in quiet thoughts that ask, what if I lose them completely? That whisper has been growing inside them, and it is changing them. Your absence no longer feels like empty space. It feels like emotional loss. And emotional loss eventually pushes honesty to the surface, especially in someone who once believed there would always be more time. Now they are seeing clearly that time changes things. Silence changes things. People change. Hearts move. And if they keep waiting, they may watch the door close on something that was meant to be faced, not avoided. That realization is stronger than ever. So when the next move comes, do not expect it to feel small. It may begin quietly, but the energy behind it will not be small at all. A message with more truth than usual, a conversation that opens deeper than before, a moment where they stop hiding behind distant jokes or safe words and finally let what they feel come through, because emotionally, they are getting closer to surrender. And surrender after a long fight does not look like games. It looks like honesty. Even if that honesty shakes, even if it comes out uneven, even if it arrives after delay, it will still carry truth. It will carry the weight of someone finally admitting that your absence changed them. That distance taught them your value, that they do not want a future where you become a regret they carry forever. That is the edge they are nearing. And the strongest part is this: they are not only returning because they miss you, they are moving because they have awakened to what this connection really is. They now understand that some bonds are not random, not shallow, not temporary. Some people arrive to transform the heart. Some people wake truths that cannot simply go back to sleep. You became that truth in them. So if your spirit has been telling you that something is near, do not ignore it. Stay grounded, stay clear, stay open, but do not abandon yourself. Because when someone finally stops running from what they feel, everything about them begins to change. Their actions change, their eyes change, their tone changes, their presence changes, and you will feel the difference before anything is even said. Now we come to the final turn, the place where everything inside them becomes clearer than before. Loving you is no longer the scariest part. Losing you is. And once the fear of loss becomes stronger than the fear of vulnerability, people stop delaying. They stop pretending. They stop waiting for endless time. They begin to move. That urgency is building in them now, stronger than before. They are beginning to understand that this bond was never random timing, never simple chance, never something temporary. You entered their life to awaken something, and you did. You changed how they understand love. You changed how they understand emotional depth. You changed how they understand themselves. And because of that, life has not felt the same to them since you. A changed heart does not easily return to numbness. That is why what comes next matters so much. It will not only be emotion speaking, it will be truth after a long inner journey. And when truth finally speaks, it does not whisper for long. Truth that says you matter more than they wanted to admit. Truth that says your absence reached places inside them they could not ignore. Truth that says they do not want this story to end as a lesson understood too late. So if you feel the space around this connection getting heavier, if silence feels strangely alive, if your intuition keeps telling you that movement is close, trust yourself. Something is opening. Something is preparing to step out from the unseen and into real life. And when it does, nothing between you will feel the same again. What makes this next chapter powerful is not only their return, it is the growth that happened in both of you. While everything stayed uncertain, you were being prepared too. You were learning how to love without begging to be chosen. You were learning how to stand in your worth even when the outcome was unclear. You were learning how to keep your heart open without losing your peace. Those lessons matter now because if this bond rises again, it has the chance to rise in a different way. More mature, more steady, more honest, more intentional. The kind of connection not driven by confusion, but by truth. And that is the energy gathering here. Not surface attraction, not temporary excitement, but emotional certainty. The kind that finally says, I cannot keep pretending this means less than it does. So do not rush it. Do not force it. Do not chase signs just to quiet your mind. Let truth arrive in its own way. Let actions reveal what words once hid. Let clarity show itself naturally because someone who has resisted a real connection for this long does not come forward lightly. They come forward changed. They come forward after reflection, after longing, after emotional awakening. And when that kind of person finally speaks from the heart, the moment carries weight, real weight, the kind you feel before you even understand it. So stay with your peace. You are going to need that clarity for what comes next. Deep down, part of you may already feel it. Something is coming, something honest, something that has been trying to reach the surface for a long time. Stay with your peace, stay with your intuition, and when the shift arrives, you will understand why your soul felt it before your eyes could see it. The space between you has not been empty. It has been full of tension, memory, learning, and unseen movement. Even in silence, something has been unfolding. Even in distance, something has been becoming clear. That is why this moment matters. Not because of fantasy, not because of wishful thinking, but because inner truth can only stay hidden for so long before it starts shaping action. And that is what is happening now. They are reaching the point where silence no longer protects them. It only reminds them of what they risk losing. They are reaching the point where distance no longer helps them forget. It only makes your meaning stronger. They are reaching the point where delay no longer feels safe. It feels dangerous because now they know what is at stake. They know what this connection touched. They know what your absence has taught them. And they know that if they keep pretending, they may lose something they will never be able to replace. So let the truth